What holds us back is not our government, it's not your competitors, it's not the stock market, it's the stories you tell yourself about who you are and what you're capable of becoming.
This is the Sales Babble Podcast, episode 298, From Chaos to Clarity, an interview with Marianne Renner.
Welcome to Sales Babble, the podcast that shares selling secrets for non-sellers. And now your host, Pat Helmers.
Hello, Sales Babblers. This is Pat Helmers. And before I get started, I'd like to invite you to be a guest on Sales Babble. I was listening to another podcast the other day where an anonymous guest joined the host, and together they walked through a few of the challenges the guest was experiencing. The host brainstormed some solutions, and the entire conversation was recorded, and it was absolutely fascinating to be a bug on the wall listening. Again, this was all anonymous. So it reminded me that each month at my makerspace, Fox Build, we host something that we call Entrepreneurs Anonymous, a place where inventors and startup wannabes can bring in their ideas and share their plans, and what we do is give them advice on how to succeed in a very generous and positive, upbeat manner. This is something that I wish I had access when I was just getting started, so that's what's got me wondering if any sales babblers out there would like to participate in something like this right here on the podcast. Now, of course, you wouldn't be sharing your name or your company or even your industry. This might be a pretty good idea, huh? This might be a bad idea. But let's take a chance to see how it goes. And of course, if you hate the conversation, I delete the files and we never speak of it again. Interested? Babble me. Now today we meet Marianne Renner. She's the author of the new book, From Chaos to Clarity. Marianne and I met for a cup of artisan coffee in a very busy coffee shop the other day, and we discussed the unique, chaotic struggle that salespeople experience. I asked her to detail the methods that she describes in her book and how to focus your ideas so that you can determine your professional destiny. Affirmation, celebration, and appreciation are the keys to move from a state of chaos to clarity. So with no further ado, let's get to it. Welcome, Marianne. Are you ready to babble?
I am so ready to babble, Pat, and I just want to thank you right out of the gate. I feel so honored and privileged to be here, so thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Where are we today?
We are at my all-time favorite coffee house, Endiro Coffee in downtown Aurora. I love this place.
I love this place.
It's the place. They
Yeah.
have a great mission. They have a great staff. They have a great vibe. It's the best.
It's just a very comfortable place to be, and it's a cold, chilly, wet day outside. What's unique about this place, this is a franchise, where this is one of many Enduros, but the only one in the United States. The rest are all in Uganda.
Yeah, I think it's all the same ownership, but there are 4 in Uganda and 1 here, or 5 in Uganda and 1 here. Yeah.
So something like that,
Yeah,
right.
It's so cool.
Cool.
They teach women, they teach people in Uganda how to farm coffee beans, and then they buy the beans from them. So from a business model standpoint and a mission standpoint, it's my favorite thing as somebody who's a big proponent of business and empowering people. I mean, that's what I'm all about, is empowering people, and that's what they do here. I love it.
Plus the food's awesome. I just had the pesto chicken, the coffee. Yeah.
I know, pesto chicken is my favorite.
Where's my coffee? My
having
coffee hasn't shown up here.
A latte.
Yeah.
My latte has this beautiful heart in the steamed milk. I love it.
It does. But we're not here to talk about coffee, actually. Let me tell you why we're here talking. I asked you, I'm really excited to have you on the podcast because you just wrote a book about something that means a lot to me right now. It's called Chaos to Clarity, Success Journal. Build the confidence and courage you need to make your dreams come alive.
Yeah. It sounds so good. Who wrote that?
I was at your book, your launch.
You were. Thank you for coming.
That was awesome. People were very generous.
I got to tell you, I'm listening to people talk from the stage, and I'm thinking, who are they talking about? I mean, it was, the mayor. I was so
The mayor.
honored and grateful that Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin was there, and the things he said. He was so generous and so gracious, and my clients that were there to hear the things that they said. It was beautiful.
It was great. It was very, very powerful. This book's about journaling, and I'm really excited about journaling because then I think I said this to you earlier. One of my 2019 goals was to learn about the Stoics.
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius,
Yes.
and Epictetus, and Seneca, and all those characters.
That's a cool goal, Pat. Most people want to lose 10 pounds. That's how they set their goals.
And Epictetus had this thing they were all about journaling. So I read Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, and mostly it's about stuff like stop whining, life's short, focus on what's important, and what's important, people,
Yeah.
being kind, being generous, doing good work,
Mm-hmm. Love it.
So I'm reading your book, which is what we're really going to go into.
Very similar.
Very, very, very similar. And you're the gratitude lady.
Yeah. This book came after hundreds of conversations that I had with leaders in my one-on-one coaching conversations, and I started to hear trends and patterns emerge. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting that you talk about those great Stoics, because I hadn't read any of that. So it's interesting that there are so many similarities, but it was people saying the same things over and over. And I can get into my own personal story a little bit later. I'm happy to talk about that, how I discovered these principles in my own journey and how much they transform every area of my life. And I thought, if they work for me, maybe they'll work for other people too. And so I would hear leaders, they would come to me and say, I'm miserable in my job. My job is sucking the life out of me. I want more meaning, more purpose, a greater sense of fulfillment. And so I would say, well, tell me what's going on. And they would just start to talk about all the things that they hated about their job.
Right.
My boss is a tyrant. I don't make enough money. The projects aren't rewarding. Just go on and on. And then I would say, tell me 3 things that you like about your job. And then they would, sort of look at me cross-eyed and say, that makes no sense. Are you not hearing what I'm saying? Here's the thing. What you focus on expands. What you focus on expands. And so if you're focusing on all the things you don't like, more of what you don't like will show up for you.
Right.
So it's not to say those things don't exist, but it's to say, where do you want to place your focus? And if you can focus on 3 things that you're grateful for, those 3 things about your job that you like, and start to shift your focus, more things of what you appreciate will show up. What you appreciate appreciates.
What you appreciate appreciates.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I can't take credit for it. That's a quote from Lynn Twist, who is the author of a book called The Soul of Money. But yeah.
So this book starts with this premise that there's chaos. It is, and it's right in from chaos to clarity. Tell me about that.
You know what? Our lives are filled with chaos. I mean, from social media to social circles, from our personal households to our professional headquarters. We have external chaos and we have internal chaos. All the crazy squirrels running around in our head. And chaos is the biggest thief in our lives.
This is what kills. Now, this is a sales podcast. Let's be clear here, right?
Yeah.
And sales is interesting because lots of times work doesn't come to a salesperson. You got to go out there and find work. You got to go find leads. You got to follow up on the leads. People don't call you up. You're not an order taker. You got to go out there and get them. And it's very easy to get off track.
Distracted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and distractions are so dangerous.
Yeah.
You know what? I mean, here's the problem with distractions, and this is what chaos brings. Distractions come into our lives, and we feel like we're on track. We're tricked into thinking we're on track because we're busy. And when we feel busy, it creates the illusion we're on track. But are you busy with distraction, or are you busy with action?
Excellent. That's the right question.
Yeah.
Because it does feel like, gosh, gosh, I worked hard all day. I hardly had lunch, hardly went to the bathroom, hardly did anything.
Yeah.
But how come I feel like I didn't get anything done?
And we were talking about this before we were recording, that we get stuck behind our computer, we get stuck in social media, we get stuck in all these places with this external distraction because it feels good, and then we think that we're crushing it. And then, especially in sales, we go, uh-oh, what happened? It didn't work. And that's what I would call external chaos. And that's also what I call it upstairs rooms of the house. Think of it this way. So when we're talking about, think of it if you're building a house and you say, I want to have a great kitchen and I want granite countertops and I want a master suite with a whirlpool tub. We want all these things. And it's kind of in sales, it would be the equivalent of, I want to have the right sales funnel or the right CRM system, the right process, the right to-do list. That's upstairs rooms. But if you're building a house, it doesn't matter how nice your granite countertops are. If you don't have a solid foundation, it all comes crashing down. And the foundation that we're talking about is inside your head. So we can have you can search forever for the perfect CRM or ClickFunnels or whatever, all your sales or your processes or your spreadsheet or however you're tracking your leads. But it's the stories that we tell ourselves that hold us back.
Right.
And your ideas determine your destiny.
Right.
Your thoughts and ideas about your past, your present, your future,
right,
who you are, what you're capable of achieving, all of those things that are going on inside our head.
Right.
That's the foundation.
Yeah, I'm a strong proponent, not a proponent for it, but I understand that way too often people put in their future their past, those past stories. Like, did that, tried that, didn't work, I'm not doing that again. When in reality, what happens in the future really is unknown.
Yeah. Yes.
And too many people keep themselves in a little box because of the stories that they, the experiences they've had in the past. They don't have a notion that there could be a completely different possibility in the future.
Yeah. It's what we tell ourselves, and like you said, Pat, it's what I did or what I didn't do or what I tried and what didn't work well. And what you focus on expands. I'm going to keep saying that.
Yep.
And if you focus on what didn't work well, more things that don't work well are going to show up. So it's one of the things that I would say, this is a recurring theme with my coaching clients, and they would focus on, here's where I blew it, or, I missed a deadline, or I didn't make the calls I was going to make, or the conversation didn't go well in the sales call. And I say, tell me 3 things that went well today. And focus, there are 100 things to choose from that went well in a day, but we focus on the 1 or 2 that went wrong.
Yeah.
You can relate.
Yeah.
And listen,
it's easy to beat yourself up for the bad stuff. Yes. I know that.
Yeah.
My wife always says, Pat, you're too hard on yourself. And I always go, I'm not hard enough.
Yeah. Wow.
I say this all the time. I go, really? I'm not hard enough on myself. That's my problem. And she's like, no, you're too hard on yourself. And I don't think I'm unique when it comes to this. I think
no, you're not. But when you celebrate your successes, and it feels good, then your brain goes to work to look for more ways to be successful.
Yeah.
And I've seen it. I know, people call, that's a bunch of woo-woo, or I need a 1, 2, 3, process, and that's great. We'll work on those upstairs rooms of the house, but it's not going to work until you have the solid foundation. And I've seen my clients, I've seen lives transform. I could tell you story after story after story.
I just wanted to break in here for a moment to share a story about how when I was a kid, I always wanted to be an engineer. When I went to college, that's what I studied. My degrees are in computer science, and I went to work for Bell Laboratories, and I did engineering kind of stuff. I actually earned a couple inventions with a couple other guys, and it was a lot of fun. But then one day I came to this realization that many of the projects that I was working on was getting canceled, and I didn't understand why. As I got closer and closer to the customer, it became clear that we were not selling them what they needed. And that's how I got into sales. I remember the second customer that I had, though. It was a lady, and I'd been calling her 7, 8 times, And I was trying to get her to close. I was trying to get her to buy. And she said to me, "Under no uncertain terms do you ever call me again." And she hung up on me. An email came in like 2 days later and said, "I'm really interested in your product, but I never want to hear from that Pat Helmers guy." It was a terrible situation. I was being a pushy sales guy, and it was extremely uncomfortable. That's why I wrote the Selling with Confidence online self-paced course. This course is designed in the same style of the Sales Babble podcast that you're used to listening to. It's got videos and handouts and PowerPoints and things like that, and it talks about all things like cold calling, lead generation, prospecting, presentations, closing, and LinkedIn. It also comes with 2 half-hour sessions of consulting with me. Step up your sales skills today. Go to salesbabble.com and you will see the class. Start selling with confidence today. What's interesting about this book, it's not a very big book, is it?
You know what? You can read this book in 15 minutes.
You can.
It's simple, but you got to do the work.
It's what it really is it's a book for journaling.
Yes.
And you have it's almost like the front chapters, kind of the directions for how to fill it out.
Yes.
But there's a couple things in this I want to focus on. First off, the first thing I want to talk about is the layout of each of these journals. You have this notion of the affirmation, the celebration, and the appreciation.
Yep.
Could you go a little into this?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, your thoughts about your past, your present, and your future will determine your outcomes. That concept of your ideas determine your destiny. So your thoughts about your past, all the things that went wrong yesterday, where I screwed up, okay? So that's the celebration. We've got to identify your successes from the day and celebrate them so that your brain will go to work looking for more ways to be successful when it feels good.
Give yourself a high five there.
Yeah. And then your thoughts about your present, which is, I'm miserable in my job. I hate, the way things are. Let's reframe that. That's the appreciation, and that's the gratitude. Write down 3 things you're grateful for every single day.
Yep.
And then the third piece is the affirmation, your thoughts about your future, where you're going. Who do you see yourself as? Where do you see yourself? And start writing that down as though it already exists.
I like that.
It's simple, but you got to do it. That's the catch.
Well, that's the next question is that how do you make that a habit?
I'm telling you, so I have a background in continuous improvement. I am all about habits, and that's why we have the book. Because you need to change your patterns, you need to change your habits, and you need to develop accountability. So if you have this book that you're going to write in every day and date it, then if you miss a day. It's writing. People will say to me, I'll think about things I'm grateful for when I get up. Okay, but what happens when you have a bad day? You won't. But if you've got to open that book and write it down, you start to develop the habit of doing it, because it's all about changing your habits. These are repetitive patterns that are just playing over and over in our brains. This idea of I'm too hard on myself, or I'm not hard enough on myself, or whatever. So you want to change those habits. Habit is the only way to do it. And so writing it down in the book keeps you accountable to know I've got to do that. And I say, do it every day. Do it the same time every day.
Right.
Just like you brush your teeth.
Right. I don't know, how many days are in this book?
50 days.
That's what I thought. I thought it was 50 days.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming if you could somehow keep going 50 days, you might be able to keep doing it the rest of your life.
Exactly. And I know you know this, Pat, about habits is, we're designed to conserve energy. That's how, as human creatures, as earthlings, we're designed. And so if you do this 50 days, that's the whole idea, is then it feels like it takes effort. I mean, although you can do this in less than 10 minutes a day, but it may feel like it takes energy, but after 50 days, it will become automatic. You will start doing it. It will feel odd if you miss a day.
What have people told you? What has this experience been for them? People who've gone through this whole process. What have you heard?
Pat, I have a client who we started doing this work together. In fact, when I said to him, tell me 3 things that you like about your job, he was like, what are you? He said, okay, I'll go along. I don't get it, but I'll go along. So we worked together for about 3 months. He was miserable in his job. He landed his dream job, doubled his salary, and eliminated a almost 4-hour round trip commute. And he will tell you, we did the upstairs room work, we did the job search and all that, but he will tell you it's because of this work. And not only that, he since has had 2 promotions, and he's just getting ready to launch a business. His salary has tripled in less than 3 years. Yeah.
Was that guy there?
My reception?
Yeah.
He was via video.
Was that guy? Yeah. He was in his car doing that. That was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he's amazing. He's done the work. He's done the work, and it's paid off for him. I have another client. She was a client about a year ago, and I bumped into her recently, and she said, I just left my full-time, my day job, and now she's got her dream business that we worked together for her to build. And I remember I would ask her in our coaching sessions, tell me your aha moment, and she would say that I have a choice. That I have a choice in what I think.
Right. I love that. How is this useful for salespeople?
You know what? Listen, sales is such an honorable
You come from that,
institution.
don't you?
Actually, I don't. Not until I started a business. Once I started my business, of course, here's the thing.
See, I always thought you were some sales gal for some high power company, and then you just eventually became a consultant.
I have a marketing background, which is very different from sales. I could talk about something and promote it, till the cows come home if I believe in it. But asking for the sale was always hard for me until I really started learning. And here's what I love about your podcast, Pat, that it's for, sales for the non-sales people.
Right.
And it is very difficult for some people to ask for the business, to ask for the sale. And so much of it is that foundational work. It's all mindset, and it's confidence. Doing these steps will help you build confidence. It will give you what you need to shift your mindset into the right place. And in sales, it's tough because you're hearing no
all the time.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah, 9 out of 10 times
Yeah.
you're hearing, nope, not interested.
So the importance of focusing on what went right today, the importance of focusing on what you're grateful for, the importance of focusing on where you see yourself and what you believe you can achieve is probably more important for salespeople than almost any other industry. I mean, you tell me, because you're the sales guy.
Yeah. I agree, of course. That's why I had you on the podcast, because salespeople are like, you own your own little business. Your quota, your sales, that's your business. And you're the entrepreneur. Salespeople are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
They're not getting an hourly salary.
Yeah.
Wage like everybody else. Mm-hmm. And I know for a fact that if your head's not in the right place, you cannot be successful in this job. You have to really believe in yourself, and you can't see yourself as fearful. Oh, it's getting loud, isn't it?
Yeah, I can hear that. I don't know if they can hear that.
I'm sure you guys can hear this. You can't be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's okay to be afraid, but you so believe in the thing that you're about that you overcome that fear.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's natural to be afraid, but is the point that it's stifling?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorite Nelson Mandela quotes that, courage is not the absence of fear. It's taking action in spite of having the fear.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent quote. Yeah. So if you were to give our listeners one piece of advice they go take action on this week, what would that be?
Listen, what holds us back is not our government. It's not your competitors. It's not the stock market. It's the stories you tell yourself about who you are and what you're capable of becoming. If I were to give you one piece of advice, first I would say go get this journal And if you don't want to spend the $12.50, whatever, that's
it's-
fine.
It's not expensive.
Get a napkin, grab something, and start writing down every day. Do these steps and make a habit of it every day. And then I would say that's number one this week. And number two, right behind it, is get in a community. Because, there's a saying, your best thinking is what got you to where you are today. Your very best thinking is what got you where you are. And if you're not where you want to be, get around people who already are.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I love it. Marianne, how can people find your book? How can they find you?
You can find me at my website, which is my name, MarianneRenner.com. And there's all kinds of free worksheets there you can download, do that, and then you can get the book on Amazon, From Chaos to Clarity Success Journal on Amazon.com.
Actually, one of my listeners just bought it today. She told me. I told her that I was interviewing. She goes, "Oh, I've heard about that. What's the book?" She goes, "Is that on Amazon?" I go, "I went and found it, put the link in LinkedIn," and she goes, "Bought it. You just got a sale."
That is so awesome, Pat. Thank you. And I don't know when the podcast is going to be published, but holidays are right around the corner. I'm telling you, this is stocking stuffers. I mean, if you're a leader, get it for your teams.
Oh, you just gave me an extra one, right?
Yeah. Stocking stuffer for your kids.
Folks, if you want this book, email me and I'll do a raffle.
Oh,
I'll give it away.
I love that. Yeah.
Or let's raffle that book. Let's raffle that book off.
I would love that.
Yeah. Email me and I'll randomly pick a name out of the hat.
Awesome. This
Awesome.
has been so great. Thank you so much.
Marianne, thank you for visiting us here on Sales Babble.
Thank you for having me. What an honor.
Like we mentioned, if you'd like to participate in the raffle for Marianne's book, From Chaos to Clarity, go to www.salesbabble.com and click on the Babble Me button, and I'll put you in the pool. I'm going to keep this up for a couple weeks, and we'll pick a winner before Christmas. Also, as I mentioned at the top of the show, if you would like to walk through a sales challenge with me on the podcast, again, click the Babble Me button, and we'll give it a try. Of course, if you'd like to talk to me in private, I'd be happy to do that. That's the majority of what I do is business development consulting. It's always a lot of fun, and I'd love to hear your problems, and we don't have to tell anybody what we talk about. All the links mentioned in the podcast will be in the show notes. You can find them at www.salesbabble.com/298. And heads up, Neil Christensen will be coming to the Sales Babble Sales Studio again for his 5th, maybe 6th time. And we'll be doing our much beloved and anticipated end-of-year top 10 review of the year's sales and marketing tools. Plus, we drink a little bit of beer. This is a ton of fun. You don't want to miss it if you've remembered them from last year and the years past. And then on the week after, I'll be talking about 2020 goal setting and how to hit the new year running. Sure, we're talking about your professional goals, but what are your personal goals? We're going to put it all together. Lastly, if you could take a moment to give us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app, I would deeply appreciate it. It really helps get the word out. That's all I got for this week. Until next Tuesday, take care, folks, and have a highly successful and a profitable selling day.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Babble podcast. Find us at www.salesbabble.com.
This is a production of Habanero Media.